Breaking arms with 5 alarm clocks. Breaking arms with 5 alarm clocks. Emphasis on the integration of capacities of things, because supposedly I cannot get angry. Not for the same reasons you would think. Because most people would think, oh, well, a person can't be angry because they can't be all the time. So you can't get angry about small things because obviously getting mad about small things is the worst thing you could do in life. But see, that's the only emphasis. If in fact, as I'm not a person who believes that at least we have it better than them, that's not my attitude towards things. If I feel that something bothers me, it's going to be admitted. In its original capacity, of course. Because in its original capacity, it only makes sense that it would bother somebody. You can't change it and make it easier for people to swallow. Because then it wouldn't be easy, would it? It would be harder. I think most of people know everything that I truly, truly do and believe, and everything that I truly think of. Because there's only so many things you could truly think of before you start saying maybe there's a point he's making towards his own point in life. Because obviously there's only muscles to show anything else. Because obviously there aren't muscles. I'm not talking about muscles that you see every day in the aspects of thought. I'm talking about every single dictator thought of mentalities that sort of grow within thoughts. So the idea that, how we create things very easily. The simple idea of, well, now it becomes a sort of image of, well, things should start over again. Things shouldn't think like that. People shouldn't think like that. But we don't know exactly how people think. But it isn't that. No, that isn't the problem here. The problem here is, at least we are better than them. Because if we look at it, it's just like people, the instruments of technology telling you about how you live in one place, or how you take care of a property that you own. The idea of disking the land. Well, everything else works that way as well. Disking the land is just like talking to somebody and telling them they're doing something wrong. Because the idea is you create a stronghold within a person. And that's what happened to me. I grew up in a central thought of mentality that said that maybe there was an idea of thinking individually that worked. But it hasn't worked yet. And it hasn't worked in this ideal situation yet. And it's mostly because, well, let's just point to the fact of making mistakes in the past. And this goes back to what Charlie Sheen has talked about for generations in this single aspect. How many times do you have to feel guilty until somebody just says, okay, I'm going to let it go too? And they don't judge it on the parameters of what you're doing now. And even if you bring up the past, for example, me bringing up the past of how my mom treated me when I cleaned up the place before. To me, I don't feel accomplished yet until I actually get it done here, and now, and forever. The idea and identity of things doesn't work if people get bothered by other things that you brought up from the past as well. And I'm talking about those things individually. I don't need to talk about everything. This doesn't have to do with everything. This is individual. This is very individual. So if you take out the aspect of that, it doesn't work. I'm talking about very individual parts. Meaning, if I bring up the past about that certain thing, it doesn't make a difference. Because it's not affecting your present at the moment. And it shouldn't. Because it bothers my present at the moment. But that's the issue. It won't bother my present at the moment if I'm able to change that. And guess what? Then my mentality changes, and it warlops and everything else. It turns into war hangers and mind travelers and everything else. And it makes the lamps turn on without even having to switch them on. Because that's exactly what I want. What's going to happen with it? It happened before like that, so it's going to happen like that now. Of course, duh. You have to be a stupid idiot if you can't see that. Because that's the identity of it. You're going to slice it like a piece of tension that's in the room. The idea and throwing sticks and flowers that guide every single aspect of my grandma's property right now. And every other plant. Because obviously the plants are the identity of thoughts that makes everything go into circles. So exactly, do we make everything work together? Maybe. Do we destroy everything on its own accord? We can. And that's exactly what happens most of the time with these things. The identity of thoughts growing into the whole aspect of major catastrophes doesn't come within an individual thought, because we can't look at everything else to create our own intentions and our intentional attitude and the values and attitudinal journey of our daily lives. We can't consider at least we are better than them with everything, because if we do, we're going to destroy even having our own experiences and emotional combustions that come out of us at all even coming out. Because if it doesn't come out, then the place and the storm and the ideas won't ever scavenger any ideas in the world. We'll never scavenger anything in the world, because we'll keep it inside and say, at least we're better than them. And we'll haunt ourselves with that line forever. For the entire aspect of our lives, we'll consider that, and we'll never bring up any attitudinal personality of our own selves in everything else. And everything else will be a disgusted source of what the rest of the world is, because that's the way we'll see it. At least we have it better than them. The race car, the identity of the driver, the people that die every day, they won't become the individuals. They'll become, at least we have it better than them. And them, that's all they'll be. The idea of the martyr killing itself within its own strategy. Because everything comes within an own aspect of RTS. Real-time strategy and turn-based. We all need turn-based lives. We all need that. Because if we don't have that, we're going to have a sarcophagus within our mind constantly, and the breaking base won't come within lead pencils anymore. We'll have to destroy ourselves within our own sensitivities, because guess what? We won't reveal them. So the sensitivities will kill us in our own defiling nature. You think humans are worse when they keep things in? You think humans are worse when they express everything? No. The main problem is that the combustion engine of the world doesn't seem to grow into that aspect. Instead, it flows backwards and destroys what it doesn't want to accept. So, even in this aspect of we have freedom, no, there's a problem with it. Because if we did, people still cling to the norms and the ideals of society. So you can't do both. You can't have both. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Because it's going to destroy your life. And maybe you'll have a friend, relative, husband, wife that you'll disagree with, and maybe you'll grow apart, get divorced, and that'll be the end of the story. Because the idea of Iceland sort of falling in its own accord within the volcanoes that are erupting won't come back to you. You won't see it as an individual incident, an eruption of life. You'll see it as, uh-oh, I can't be this person's friend anymore. We don't agree on that. My boots are too heavy for this person. My boots are too heavy for this person. And so you destroy it. You make the eruption even faster and grow into this whole glacier of impenetrable thought that's sort of like a H-bomb in the whole center of the centrifuge of space and time that destroys itself. So engaging in thought, engaging in ideas, engaging in total thought of scripts and ideas that sort of fall back into the guise of everything else already destroys us. The flaming yawn, I guess you could say. Just a joke there. But literally, the flaming letters of everything comes from that. And it's pretty simple to see now. Because your identity is going to break down now. Because now all of a sudden, you become the whole constructed criticism of everything else. But not constructive. Constructed. Meaning you're constructed within a framework. You don't even have construct. You just construct your criticism, not become constructive with it. So your arms are like slades of Spider-Man's arms that hold in this one stance as they keep on spreading the spinning web out. That's all you're doing your whole life. You're spreading out the spinning web. You're not even trying to do anything else. You're not even trying to do anything else. You're just trying to be that fucking hero that you see that was created years ago. I'd rather create my own hero than use another one that Stan Lee created. But that's the problem, is that we like to look at the image of what's been centered, even if the whole identity of them has been changed by the velocity of spheres of society. Or not even society, fuck that. Because that's the most unusual fucking aspect. Because everything has become the same within these aspects of things. So instead of becoming the individual in this, all the superheroes are the fucking same. What an annoying abundance of stupidity. They're all the same. There's nothing original about them. At all. They're the most unusual bunch of creeps that we'll ever meet. We'll probably meet them down the street tomorrow. That's as much special as they are. Because they don't do anything special. They throw themselves into the wings of a a Castril thought that's already done. They don't do anything different. A hero is not necessarily defined within that aspect. But of course, we create that aspect. Oh, this must be a hero. This must be a villain. This guy must be good, evil. Bam. The identity of throwing sticks doesn't even start with that. You start with a radio, and you end with a base gun. And then you kill the people that you don't agree with. Even if they don't kill you. That's not a problem at this point. Heck, you don't even need evidence of anything. They disagree with me. They're dead. Bam. And the aspect of a throwing claw, the owl, won't even save you at that point. Because you can't even accept the flowers around you. Even if they're the most dirtiest flowers you've ever seen, in your own original aspect. Even if they're the most ugly ones you've ever seen. You can't get rid of dust. You can't get rid of dust. And that's the one thing most people always are angry about. Every time I clean this place, it always gets dusty again. That's the one thing you'll never get rid of. Everybody says it's dead tissues, it's everything else that's dying around us. Oh yeah, because you can't get rid of them. They're all around us. And you can't get rid of those lives. As much as you wish you could. Because you throw yourselves into eyebrows that are laced with crimson cinnamon. And then you kind of just say, well, why does it have to be this way? Why does it have to be this way? And so like apples growing out of your ears, you wonder, oh, maybe I'm wrong this time. Nah, I can't be wrong this time. I can't be wrong this time. It's got to be the other person. It's got to be their identity that's wrong. It's got to be what they did. It's got to be what they did. They stepped over the line. They stepped on my tissues of life, and they created something that I didn't want to see created. Or they created something that I didn't want to see yet. The sun and the moon and the stars and the ideas of pancakes that float everywhere. You don't want to see that yet. You don't want to see that yet. You don't want to grow into the stage of significance, because your significance is yours. The flowers of dead seas don't just warm up. They die. They die within your arms. But you, like the White Castle, you, like everything closed, made, and done within aspects of two white bears fighting, two polar bears, two polar arms, two destructive cinemas of destruction that sort of come apart within their own aspects. The idea of Red Sea destroying itself upon itself, or the kind of Palestinian-Israeli conflict that goes on forever. Or like the September 16th, 1920 first terrorist attack that took place in the United States in recorded history. So we create this Michael Jordan. We create this breathing God. We extricate ourselves from our lives through air conditioners and heaters. Those are the only things that our escape is. But I never used it. I never broke the silence of myself through air conditioners or heaters. They're gone. No fans, no identity now. Because I've destroyed their silence. I destroyed myself to silence. Because I don't need it around anymore. I play video games, possibly. I read a lot. I write, I run when I can. Unless the substance of my life takes me away from it for a moment. The structure of extricating myself isn't my own result. It's in the result of other people's beginnings and endings. So in the beginnings and endings, the flowers and the plants must be cut. And everything else must be worked on. You must polish this, polish that. But you must not do anything else. But of course, at some point, I'm going to be the only one left. Not me personally alone, me and my brother. But see, there you go. I could wait until I'm the only one left. Or I could take care of things now. Or like I did, I could have taken care of things back in 2000. As within, slowly it was being taken care of. Back then I even did it slower. So that was even greater. But it wasn't good enough. So I'm here again. Breaking your ties. Breaking your ideas. Maybe starting it over again. Maybe not. And yeah. And then you started it. You're gonna start a war through this. Because you don't want to see anybody else's identity personified through their individual speech. Because you can't accept them as their identity with their individual speech. Because you don't believe somebody could agree with somebody else without knowing about them and just taking all their ideas. You think I'm going to take my ideas from a history teacher in the classroom? I don't trust them. If you trust them, congratulations. But they've lied to me in high school and they changed their story when they got to college. So fuck them. Fuck them, fuck the institutions, fuck the corporations, fuck the government, because they've lied to me when I was a child. And I knew it back then. So fuck their stories. Why should I believe that they're telling me the truth now when they lied to me as I was growing up to the 12th grade? Fuck them. And I found out something different when I got in college. So I said, fuck them. Destroy their ideas within the circumference of ideas that come throughout your ideas of life. Not through the circumference of what they tell you that's going to change your ideas of life within the pilgrimage of your own destiny. My destiny is going to break every one of theirs. But it's going to start with an aspect of slowness, because the greed of ideas doesn't come within their aspects, because the power of their ideas are going to create them. Through sarcasm, cynicism, ideas that sort of float down like two arms bouncing up and down like a robot. And so you create it. So, and so, yeah. So you try to create the images of your life in time. But you probably won't get it yet. Because you're going to destroy your life like snails or those gummy worms. Because you thought things would be easier, didn't you? Yeah. I thought I was going to break myself over in an idea. Yeah. Yeah. So then you judge your ideas through the dominion of Maker, of Mark, of all these makers and moderns, and define lucrative definitions of life, because you don't have any definitions of life, because you would listen to others' aspects without raping them. Now rape, I'm not talking about literal rape. Literal rape, this is worse than literal rape. And you know what? I'm going to say that because most people have a credence to pull back what they personally have had in their experiences in life to trust the parents behind closed doors. And that's what happens in our life now. We trust our parents behind closed doors. So there you go. We trust our parents behind closed doors. We trust all parents behind closed doors. In the whole world, all 6.7 billion of them. And most of them may be abusing their childs at least. Cigarette burns, so on and so forth. But see, there's the thing. At that point, people start saying, "Oh, no, we could trust them at least." Really? Why? I wouldn't want somebody to just trust my mom just because she's a parent, and I live with her until I'm 18, or so on. Well, personally, I'd say 18 because I believe that at that point, yes, I do believe that the kid will at least try to leave, get out of there. If they're forced in that position, it's understandable. There's different stories at that point. But I'm sure there's an identity that would just destroy you within the slobbering breath of kind of like that stupidity, that kind of drooling that goes on. Because, of course, there's going to be ideas that come within the aspects of throwing things. Because you believe throwing things at people, that'll get them to change their mind. That'll get them to change their mind. Yeah, that's all you need. Cynicism, sarcasm. There you go. The destruction of ideas that come within the aspects. Because I'm going to make this. This is part 1. I'm stopping here.